Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome everyone to another life and leadership experience. This is where we meet each Tuesday, each Friday at this time, 8 a.m. Eastern. It's where we have those conversations about life and leadership. And it's where we learn and it's where we grow. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday. It's already the 14th of February. Let me pause to say happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Now she's been having a little bit of technical issues, so we're going to see if she gets back on to wish us happy Valentine's Day and to give us the format for today's program. Keep holding on, and we'll be right back with the program for today. So while she's working on that, I'll introduce the topic for today. The topic for today is the process of change. And the process of change is something that we often see ourselves dealing with because many of us do not like the process of change. Change is painful. Change is uncomfortable. Change is different. And so a lot of people do not like the process of change. However, there's a series of steps that you can follow. And if you follow these steps, you will find that the process of change is not as daunting and not as scary as it may seem. So we will go through some of those processes today, and we'll give you some tips and some strategies that will help you in the process of change. I will give our host a few more seconds to see if she comes back on. Otherwise, we will move forward. Dr. Janice, I can hear you, but I can't see you. Can you hear me, Dr. Janice? Okay, well, let's move forward with the first question. The first question for today is, what is the process of change?
Dr. Howell, I can actually hear you. Thank you so much. There's something happening with my camera.
Okay.
What is happening with my camera? But I'm gonna go on. I'm
Okay,
absolutely
no
sure it's going to come back at some point in time.
All right, no problem, no problem.
Thank you
Okay,
so
go
much.
ahead.
Thank you so much. So, absolutely, we are talking today about change. And as we all know, change is something that is not the easiest thing to deal with, as I heard you say earlier. And change is one of the only constants that we have in life. Change is one of the only constant that we have in life. Yet, let's face it, all of us resist change at some point in time. Whether it's in our personal lives as leaders, the way we approach change can really define our success. If it's in our professional, personal life, it's the same thing. The way we approach change and how we go through that process, it really defines our success. So today, that's what we're talking about. how to navigate change, the process of change. And I want to say navigate the process of change with intention, with resilience
Mhm.
and clarity in both life and leadership. And we're going to look at that this morning. We have some points that a few questions that we're going to address, because questions raise curiosity, and questions allow us to think and to understand what we're going through. So, Dr. Howell, when we talk about the process of change, what really comes to your mind?
There are two things that come to my mind when I think about the process of change. As a life coach and professional and business coach, one of the things that first captures my intent, my mind and my thinking is mindfulness. And the reason why I am so curious about mindfulness and the state of the mind of an individual is because your mindset determines your awareness. Your mindset determines your strategies. So if you attach a positive mindset to the process of change, you tend to be more successful because the creative juices can flow. But if you attach a negative mindset to the process of change, you might stonewall the process, or you may even find that the creative juices are not flowing and you are stagnant and you do not find a way around your problem or the situation at hand. So the first thing you have to look at is your mindset. The second thing you have to look at, in my opinion, is the saying, the more things change, the more things remain the same. And why that is important to me is this: we as human beings like to resist change, but change, as you so eloquently stated earlier, will always be a part of life. And so knowing that things will continually change will set you up for a mindset that I cannot be comfortable. I cannot always remain comfortable because I will have to adapt to the things that are around me. So once we have those two caveats, now we can look at the process of change. So the first thing that we need to understand with the process of change is we need to be aware of the fact that change is necessary and how change is necessary. Then once we identify that change is necessary with a particular situation, now we can plan and prepare for change. And planning and preparation for change, like I said, is important, but not as important as your mindset. Because if you have an open mindset, you will see change as a viable possibility. However, if you have a closed mindset, you'll be resistant to the process of change and your planning will be subpar. So your mindset determines how you're going to plan and prepare, whether or not you'll be creative, well, whether or not you will have a good plan for it. And then the third step after the awareness and the planning is going to be the implementation. And that implementation is how you plan to achieve that planning process, how you plan your pathway forward. And so your implementation or your execution needs to be such that you have little roadmaps, little pit stops along the way so you can adjust and see whether or not you're making the progress that you're trying to make. You don't go all the way through and then realize that you're supposed to be going north, but you're going northeast or southwest. So you want to make sure that throughout the process that you are going in the right direction. So the implementation is not just getting action. You heard people say, I'm a person of action. Well, a person of action is good, but you need a well-defined plan for that person of action so that that person of action can go in the right direction. Because so often in life, we're moving, but we're not making progress. And if you look at a racetrack, you have a car driver that's driving at 100 or 200 miles an hour, but after an hour of going in circles, they're still at the same point where they started because they weren't moving in a specific direction. And so you don't want to do that in life. You want to make sure you have a well-defined plan so that as you implement that plan, you're actually making progress. So you have to have little checkpoints along the way to make sure that you get to that point. Now, the last thing I want to say is that when you have those little checkpoints, every time you have a small incremental success, it builds momentum for the next checkpoint. And what you will find is that you are able to sustain change. The people who do not enjoy life or do not enjoy the project until after it's done. And I've heard people say stuff like, I am not going to relax until this is done. I can't enjoy until it's done. I need to complete this before I can enjoy the end point. Those are people who miss the whole point of life, because life is about enjoying all of those little stops, all those little pit stops along the way. Not only do they build momentum, it gives you the encouragement to tackle those higher mountains and those higher mountains. As a kid, you had to learn how to stand up. Then you had to learn how to walk. And then once you learned how to walk, you had to learn how to run. Now, once you learned how to run, now you had to tackle the world. Now I have to learn how to open doors and close doors. Now I have to learn what is safe for me and what is unsafe. So life is one mountain after the next, but we start with hills before we move on to the small mountain and the bigger mountains. Now, the final part of the sustained change or the change process is reflection. A lot of people fail to reflect to see what could I have done better, not to wallow in it, but to make adjustments so that you learn from the mistakes from the past and move forward.
Excellent points, Dr. Howell. Thank you so much for just jumping in and taking over right there. and I caught a few of the points that you made, and
Well, we still seem to be having some technical difficulties, so I guess we'll move on to point number 2. And the question for number 2 is, why is it that many people fail to embrace the power of process? Why is it that many people fail to embrace the power of process? So the first reason why I can believe that people are fearful of embracing the power of process is fear of the unknown. People get comfortable in doing things the way that they have been done forever. And any level of change, regardless of how small it might be, brings us a little fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of things not going the way you see them to be, fear of judgment, fear of people looking at you and thinking to themselves, I can do better than you. Now, a lot of times, those feelings of fear that we have is not a reflection of how people think about us or the job that we're doing, but it's the limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves. And many times people do not see what we're going through. And if we didn't bring them up and if we didn't highlight them, people would be none the wiser. So fear of the unknown is the first thing that a lot of people look at to stop them from embracing the power of change. Second, the comfort with status quo. And I like this particular one because it reminds me of Blockbuster. When Netflix first came to Blockbuster and asked them, hey, would you like to buy our company or engage in this venture with us? Blockbuster said, no, we are in the VHS business. We're in the movie business, and we don't want to get into the streaming business, even though they were related. And a few years later, Blockbuster was gone because they were not innovative. They weren't willing to embrace new things because the status quo and the way things were always done was their primary focus versus innovation. The third thing that stops people from embracing change is the lack of understanding, not knowing what it is we need to do. And that's why it's very important for leaders to give the insight and to give a vision that is clearly defined for the subordinates, because it is only when leaders give a very clear and divine and defined vision and goal for the future can people jump on the bandwagon. A lot of times people want to get excited, but if you don't have a clearly defined vision, you won't get the right people excited to help you along the way, because no man is an island. No one is successful without the help of other people. Someone had to train you, someone had to teach you, someone had to be your partner. And so the lack of understanding is what causes a lot of people to be dismayed with the change process. Because if we only knew what was on the other side of the mountain, if we knew that it was a better situation for us, then we would embrace change. But the fear of the unknown is what makes it difficult for us to embrace the change. We don't understand what's on the other side. How can it be better on the other side if it's bad now? So let's look at number 4. Insufficient support. A lot of times people do not embrace change because of insufficient support. You are a jack of all trades, master of none, or you like to take charge too much, or you do not know how to communicate, or you are weak with communicating the fact that you might need some help. And so if you would find mentors, teachers, and people, even cheerleaders, to rally around you to help you get through these difficult times and to help you find new and innovative ways to change so that you can be more successful and reach your goals more productively, then you will find that change is not as difficult as you might have thought. So I always talk about HQP, high quality people. You want to have high quality people in your circle, because when you have the support of high quality people, they can motivate you when you're down and out. They can give you ideas when you are running dry on creativity. They can help you. But no man is an island, so do not try to tackle these difficult problems and change without the help of trusted people with you. So question number 3, how can we help people understand that the process is more important than the end result? I believe we spoke about that a little earlier in a previous question. And what came to mind was the fact that things may not go the way you want them to go. And so what do you do when you put a year into a project and it doesn't come out the way you wanted it to come out? Do you forget about all the successes that you had along the way? Or do you just whine and pine about not reaching your goal? Because life is not about the destination. Life is about the journey. We all know where we want to get to in life. But if the journey doesn't take you to that point, are you disgruntled? Are you depressed? And are you looking at life as a waste of time? You still have friends that you've made along the way. You still had wins that you made along the way. You still had growth that you made along the way and learning that you made along the way. And so is all of that for nothing? Or is that just part of the journey to continue to move forward? And so the importance of the process is the education part. The importance of the process is the awareness that change will always be something that you have to deal with. The importance of the process is to celebrate the milestones along the way. Have micro goals and have macro goals, and then have one major goal at the end. But all of those little goals along the way should be celebrated because they can build momentum for the future. And once you build the momentum for the future, the journey becomes a lot more viable, a lot more positive, and something to be celebrated. Now, another thing we can look at is communicating the benefits of change to other people. And so when people know what the end product is supposed to be, for example, less change from VHS to DVDs, or less change from cassette tapes to CDs. The process of change might have been expensive. The process of change might have been something that people were found difficult to deal with because they weren't used to it. Now I got to get rid of all my VHSs, so now I have to get CDs. Well, CDs are smaller, easier to carry, and so that might be something to look at. Or now I have to get rid of all of my cassette tapes, or now I have to buy all of these CDs or all these DVDs, and then once you got used to that, now I have to go and do streaming. So now I don't even need a cassette player. Now I don't even need a DVD player. Now I don't even need a VHS player anymore. So we went from 8-track to CD, from 8-track to cassette, from cassette to CD, from CD, now we're going to streaming. So what were the benefits along the way? Well, the benefits are storage. Now you don't even have to walk around with CDs because we have streaming. Everything you have at home, you can have on a streaming device and more. And so what are the benefits, and were the benefits worth it? Finally, one of the things that we can do to embrace the process of change is to lead by example. People who are innovative, people who are creative, and people who are doers, if they lead by example, people will follow. If we have a positive mindset as we lead by example, people will follow. Jim Collins talked about getting the right people on the bus in his book, Good to Great. Getting the right people on the bus has to do with the bus driver getting the right people. And that means the bus driver doesn't open up the bus door until the right people are outside of the bus. But also, the people who are not supposed to be on that bus should get the door open so they can get off of the bus. So leading by example is a way to make people who are comfortable with your way of thinking and doing things comfortable so that they can get on the bus. And the people who are not down with the way you do things and not innovative and not on board can get off of the bus. So let's look at the last question for today. What are some strategies for those struggling to embrace the process of change? And I'll whiz through these a little quicker. The first strategy is to set realistic goals, set micro goals that you can achieve in a short amount of time so that you can build momentum and move forward. The second thing would be to seek support. Find people who have gone that path before and have them teach you or mentor you. And that way you can get the help needed to move forward. The third thing you can do is to stay positive. Be started with a mindset. That mindset must be right. If you can stay positive and focus on the positives and focus on what am I learning through this process so that when I get to the end point, I'll be better. So staying positive, have a positive mindset. Number 4, practice flexibility. All the best laid plans may not go as planned, but if you focus on being flexible along the way, you will find that you will learn a lot more from your journey and not just focus on the destination. Now, a couple of things I want to say at the end. How do we help people with the process of change? So for number 5, how do we help people with the process of change? First, we can help people in an institution by finding them support. We offer them training, we offer them resources. So know what people need and be there ready with the training necessary. 2, create a supportive environment. There are a lot of leaders that say, hey, I have an open door policy. But if I find out that when I come through your doors and I voice my grievance, I might be fired, or I might be subject to punitive repercussions, then less people will be willing to come through that door to voice their opinion. And so have a supportive environment so that it can foster creativity and foster learning. Third, maintain open communication. As a leader, you should have a communication that is clear, that is present, and that is well defined, so that everyone who needs to know where the company is going knows exactly what is going on at every point in time based on their level of leadership or being a subordinate. And last but not least, we will provide regular feedback to let individuals know what goals we have met and what is next. What is the next milestone that we will be going towards? Now, Dr. Janice, I see that you're back with us. Now you're gone again. Well, if she comes back before I wrap this up, then she will give us a couple of her viewpoints. Otherwise, I will close out. Let me give her a few seconds. Okay, it seems like she may not be coming back with us. So today we spoke about the process of change. I hope that you got some information that was valuable to you about the process of change and why leaders and subordinates should embrace the process of change. Once again, my name is Dr. Siegfried Howell, and the co-host and the main host was Dr. Janice. We are personal and professional consultants. If you need help within your business, you can contact us on our handles. And thank you very much for being part of this program. You all have a very good day. Bye-bye.